guess we don't need to do a second sink. We don't need to do a first sink.
No. But we're going to throw the whole kitchen sink at it.
There you go.
Yeah, so just prepare to...
It'll be great.
It'll be perfect.
Yeah, so just prepare to...
Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play throughout the year, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real with you, and I don't care if I get fined.
That train is off the track.
I feel like you can't just like jump through Neptune and be okay.
Just prepare to...
What the show needs is more dogs and bears and chickens and stuff.
Yeah, so just prepare to be awash in unbeatable goodness.
Welcome, Pacers fans. You were listening to the Undebeatables, your semi-weekly Pacers podcast. Today is May 6th, 2024, and this is episode 705. Coming to you from Silver Spring, Maryland, I'm your host, Joey Gaffrida, the man behind the dials. This show, we're going to discuss Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals, Pacers versus Knicks. Joining me this show is one of our analysts, still coast to coast, like buttered toast. Maybe a loose definition.
Are the coasts each side of the desk?
From the high school home of Josh Hart,
Unfortunately.
Silver Spring, Maryland, it's the doctor, Jason Triplett.
What is up, Pacers fans? What is up, Undebeatable? What is up, Joey? Shout out to Colson and Harper, who are reliving this heartbreak in tape delay.
Yeah.
Good for them.
And before we get into the spoiler alert, heartbreak, I wanted to remind you that you can support us, the longest running Pacers podcast, by heading over to patreon.com/undebeatables. And you can support us for as little as $1 per month. So, if we've referred to so far, there's a little bit of heartbreak today. Pacers took on the Knicks and lost in pretty dramatic fashion. And I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about some of the specifics, but this is Game 1 on the road in New York, and Pacers, had I'd say more than a good chance to take that game, and came up short. Final score 121 in New York, 117 Indiana, in Madison Square Garden. So, a lot to talk about in this game. The Pacers, took a lead into halftime and it looked pretty strong. New York had made some good runs. It never really separated. There was never a whole lot of separation before halftime, and there really wasn't a whole lot. Pacers at some point in the second half took like a 9-point lead, but never got beyond that. And then the Knicks, clawed their way back into the game and ended up down the in crunch time, getting ahead and staying ahead. There was a couple pivotal calls in that game. From we watched it together, the two that we were the most perplexed by were, number one was, I think the most perplexing was the moving screen call on Turner. Actually, I don't know. They're both pretty perplexing, but the one I'm most surprised they called was the screen on Turner against DiVincenzo with, I don't know, a minute 20 left in the game. It was certainly...
No, not even 12 seconds left.
It was a 12... Okay, yeah, it was the time that you don't call those kind of things unless they're horribly blatant, and it was... I don't even know that you would call that normally, and they reviewed it and still called it. And then the other one earlier in the game, Miles Turner again goes up for a block, and Brunson makes a good defensive effort and blocks his shot, but was able to block the shot because he just went through his body. Mm-hmm. He went through his person and would be, if it was outside the arena, would have been a misdemeanor. But inside the arena, after review, they were cool with it. So they overturned the call. And
well, if it makes you feel any better, Joey, Stan Van Gundy was outraged. And so, really, that's the... I consider that a win.
Is that
we're taking that
silver lining?
Taking that home, yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a tough game. Like you said, it was a really great game. I was up and pacing around.
Yeah.
My wife was looking perplexed. Like, who is this gentleman? But yeah, lots of things to chat about here. I mean, I guess the top line story is, Jalen Brunson is unstoppable. He had his 4th consecutive 40-point game in the playoffs, which 4 people have done. Jerry West, Michael Jordan, Josh Hart, and who was the other guy?
Not Josh Hart.
No, sorry. Jalen Brunson. Josh Hart is haunting my dreams right now.
It was, I think it was another Nick.
It was, Bernard King.
Bernard King, yeah.
So, I mean, that is, the guy scored 21 points in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to beat teams if somebody on the other side is doing that. I thought that the Pacers, we talked yesterday about, the Pacers potentially coming out and looking scared like they did in Game 1 of the Milwaukee series. And I thought there was a smidge of that in the first quarter, but overall I thought getting out of that first quarter, not playing our best basketball and being down 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it was, got the team a little bit of confidence. Bench came in and was fantastic again. Shout out to Isaiah Jackson, who gave some really good minutes. Shepard played pretty solidly on both ends of the floor. TJ McConnell was almost our leading scorer. He had 18 points. And Obi Toppin had a between the legs dunk and hit a couple threes. So those guys did their job. And I thought Turner played a really nice game. He was aggressive, especially in the third quarter. Very assertive. I thought Nembhard played a solid game despite the Sisyphean task of guarding Jalen Brunson and playing good defense, but only to be called for a foul. To me, as a Pacer fan, my question that I was asking you and Jill as we were watching this game is where's Tyrese Haliburton and where is Pascal Siakam? Like, why are these guys not taking over the game in the last 5 minutes? There's a lot of Aaron Nesmith, who, by the way, posterized the hell out of Mitchell Robinson, and Nembhard. And I would have liked my 2 franchise players to be a bit more assertive.
Yeah, scoring. So Siakam ends with 19, which is respectable, and Haliburton was 6, which is less respectable. Haliburton, I think, just didn't. He was pretty passive. Just in general, he had no fouls. He wasn't. He was guarding DiVincenzo a lot. Mm-hmm. So he, and Brunson's the one who's getting to the basket and is involved with much more of the action, but I mean, offensively, I think he had eight assists, but he certainly wasn't engaged. And there was definitely possessions where, both he and Siakam didn't touch the ball, and those are the guys that even in the previous series we would lean on Siakam when we needed a bucket. Get him in the post and let him do something, and instead we just didn't get much. We didn't get much of that. Haliburton was, he had some good, clever, progressive, pushing the tempo, passing, when it was available to him. But I mean, really, I didn't really feel like he was off. I didn't really feel like he was facilitating the offense very much at all.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. In the when things slow down in the half court, but I will say, and I give him a lot of credit for this game being played at the Pacers' pace.
Yeah.
Like, the final score is 121 to 117, and I would have thought if both of these teams are scoring in the 120 region, then that's exactly what we want. And the Knicks are happy to play at this pace. They like to run at some level, and they got some good look. DiVincenzo hit a couple transition threes. Josh Hart was unbelievable in just grabbing rebounds and going full court and scoring buckets. And I mean, that guy's a machine. He played all 48 minutes. As this series goes on, hopefully we can continue to play this pace, and maybe we'll start to get a little bit of a wearing down of these guys, because they played 8 guys, but I think their bench guys only played a grand total of 15 minutes 25 minutes or something like that. So yeah, I mean that's the other frustrating thing, right? Is you gotta, the goal is to steal a game in Madison Square Garden, and we had a game where we were in it the entire time. I wouldn't say we were in control of the game, but we were up.
No, we were ahead
5 to 6 or what. It was very tight. We never got very far ahead, but most of the second half. And I was pretty impressed with the guys. The Knicks would come in and cut it down to 1 or even tie it, and then the Pacers would push it back up to 4 or 5, but could only do that so many times. And Brunson was just, he's just a walking bucket right now. It's insane. When he gets Nemhard, in the post, the high post, basically at the free throw line, and just sets himself up for that turnaround jump shot. You just know it's automatic.
Right.
It's good when he lets it go.
Yeah. Well, so I guess there were some things in game 1 that could have gone better, and I guess the things in game 2. Here's what I'm looking for. Here is more engagement from those two, from Halliburton and Siakam.
Sure.
So that's something I'm looking for. And I guess beyond that, keeping that pace up. And actually, I looked. I pulled up the pace statistics for the year. The Indiana Pacers were second, and with 102.16 behind the Wizards. And New York was last. They were last in the league, and so I think they're a little more comfortable. And it's not their preference, I guess, but they did fine. They let. I think we need to keep that up. We need to press on that, because we did get easy buckets that game. There were certainly, and those are always, the more of those you can get, the better, because it's less work. Some of those times where there's a defensive possession where everybody's working, to break up the passing, and you're switching and screens and all that sort of stuff. You're working your butt off defensively, and say you win that possession, you rebound the ball, and then 2 point. It's you get what they were working for. You did almost no effort, and the more you can do that, the better. And we were able to get some of those.
Yeah, and you mentioned the rebounding, which was a concern for us going into it. We lost the rebounding battle, 40 to 32, but we gave up only 8 offensive rebounds, and we had grabbed 7 of our own, so sort of drew even there. Obviously can always improve there, but you can't be disappointed in that. We shot the ball pretty well, 52% from the floor. Can't be super mad at that. 38% from 3, that's decent. Got to the line 19 times, which is a fair amount for us, and so that's why all the things were done correctly.
Sure.
Just New York did everything a little bit better, especially the 3-point shooting. I thought they were. I don't know how they are as a 3-point shooting team on the year, but I was surprised at how efficient they were from the 3-point range. So they DiVincenzo hit 5 of them or something. Yeah, he hit 5. Anunoby hit 3. Brunson, Hart, and freaking Hartenstein
Oh, hit that.
with the half quarter.
Yeah.
Which that was like a big. That ends up being like a big,
Yeah.
big shot, right? Like that shifts the balance towards the end, and that's why every possession counts in these games, right?
Yeah. So I'm also hoping that Pacers ran essentially 9 deep, and Isaiah Jackson was the one that played the least of the players that play with 13 plus minutes. On the New York side, really they ran 7 guys, and Precious Achua just 4 minutes. So really it's like a 7-man. So we have 2 more players involved that to spread the load over, and hopefully as these as the season or as the series goes on, hopefully we're able to capitalize a little bit on that. And obviously the starters they've been great for New York so far. They've been they played well last all season, the first series and in game 1, but hopefully they're gonna start to run out of gas a little bit, and the Pacers can get an advantage there.
Yeah, and it's obviously more playoff experience, which is good. This was a lot of clutch minutes and a really tight game in like a awesome environment. The crowd was amped as usual. One other play that I forgot about that the refs maybe screwed us on was there was a play down the stretch where Aaron Nesmith sort of made a deflection.
Yeah.
It looked like just with his hands, but the referees called a kick.
Yeah.
Which that would, that's a live ball turnover. That would have been 2 points our way. They called it a kick. Apparently you can't challenge that, even though we still had a challenge left.
Right.
And
which is wild. Like, why would you
not?
Why would you not?
All the things.
Like, why is that? It's a pretty cut and dried thing when you look at it on the video, right? Like,
maybe they assume they'll never get it wrong. I don't know. It was very weird. But
from
that was a 5-point swing.
It was.
I think they got a 3-point.
They did.
Off of that. Yeah.
They get the ball back and then it's a 3-point. And I will say, like, from the view on TV, for me during live speed, like during the game, to me it looked like a kickball from what we saw, but then from the replay, to me it looked like it was it was sort of.
It all depends
blocked,
on the referee's angle, but so I think I agree. I think it was a perfectly reasonable thing for the referee to call that a kick, but like, the fact that you can't review it at all is just insane to me. And then the Turner screen, like, I suppose he didn't give the player enough time to adjust, but like, I've been watching basketball for 40 plus years now, and I've seen a lot of screens set, and that one was not the most egregious screen I've ever seen. And
with that much time left in the game, in the playoffs,
a 1-point game, like it was a 1-point game. It was crazy. And then the ensuing play, Nembhard gets a technical foul for grabbing Jalen Brunson briefly around the waist, and Brunson reacts like he got shot. In the belly, and so the referees fall for it, and so that just basically takes, because the Pacers are still in the game at that point, right? So you are in a position where you're down 1, but you can foul. We have no timeouts left, but it's still at worst a 1 possession game,
right?
If he makes both, and you still have a chance, but calling that play basically allows them to extend it to a 2 possession game and ends the game effectively. And so, I hate complaining about the referees because I think there are, obviously things you could point to as a Pacers fan, but there weren't a ton of things that you could point to as being like, we didn't execute in this sense. There were, a few times where, Halliburton got sloppy with the ball. We'd like him to be more assertive, but we had 7 turnovers as a team. Like,
Yeah.
and 32 assists. Like, I mean, we're
Right.
doing a pretty good job taking care of the basketball overall. Like I said, like rebounding, obviously we got out rebounded, but like did decently good on the offensive glass or whatever. So yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't know what adjustments you would make going into game 2, other than trying to come up with some sort of scheme to throw Brunson off. Like, I mean, do we go zone in some cases? Or do we do something funky? Like, I feel like Carlisle's got to have some weird scheme up his butt.
I think
he
that
can pull out.
Yeah, and I think that there's, I mean, again, this was a close game. That Hartenstein 3, a couple foul calls go a different way. I look at, it's a 2-6 matchup, but really, you look at the records. The Knicks won 50 games and the Pacers won 47. There's not, on paper, not a lot differentiating these teams, at least talent wise.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the other thing, we have Rick Carlisle, who should be able to make some adjustments from this game.
Sure.
And whether it's some personnel changes, we do have some flexibility in our lineup to throw some different guys out there. You could put McBuckets out there, in stretches if you're looking for some shooting. I mean, Jalen Smith is, he's got some talent then, and you might be able to use him here and there. And Jarris Walker,
I mean, none of those guys are going to see the floor, Joey.
I
can tell you, but like what needs to happen, right, is like both Josh Hart and Hart and Brunson basically can get past their man every time. And so we're getting beat at the point of attack every single time down the floor. And that just puts your defense in a scramble. And, they dish off, they move the ball pretty well. They ended up with I have no idea how many assists, but they weren't moving the ball well in the first half. They ended up with a whole bunch of assists in the second half.
25.
Yeah,
total.
So that's a lot for them, right? So I don't know what needs to happen, but we need to do something to contain the ball at the top of the key, like that, which obviously has been a problem for the Pacers all year. Like, that's why we're the worst defensive team in the league, I believe. So, this is a case where you got to get gimmicky and figure out, like, are we going to start throwing double teams, and where are those double teams coming from? Like, you just got to make them see different looks throughout the game and make them adjust, I think. But I don't know. Carlisle's smarter than I am. So.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna have something, something for this, and he's gonna give some variation on this, because once they, because sometimes these teams, they see the same thing as soon as they see the thing and that they know how to defeat, they're just they beat it, and then they and you do it again. And sometimes you see it offensively. You run the same play, and they defend it bad again.
Yeah.
Well, fine. I'll put it in again.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, because I thought offensively we're, as good as we usually are.
Yeah.
The fear is in this, game 2, do the guys come out flat? Like, we're very dependent on at least being passable at 3-point shooting, and if we just have a bad 3-point shooting night, like, it would be easy for us to get blown out of the water. But I think that if we keep the pace up and don't settle for threes, but rather take good threes in rhythm, which we did for the most part tonight, I thought, we'll be in good shape. And yeah,
we got 19 free throws to their 26. And the other thing, you did mention one of these, the sort of technical foul, like the foul while dead ball foul. Mm-hmm. We had at least 2 of those total.
We had 2 of those.
And that's a free point, Yeah. And if you're gonna club a guy, wait till the ball's in.
Well, but it's so frustrating. Like, the Brunson one is just ridiculous.
I agree.
They're playing, but they're calling it like a playoff game, and so And the other technical was the same thing. It was a guy that's like starting to move on a out of bounds play, and like of course you grab him. Like that's what it's the playoffs,
Right?
Like that's what you do. And the fact that the referees can fall for this like nonsense, Trae Young-esque, head flopping is like just very frustrating as a fan, when there are plenty of times that our guys go into the lane, get hammered, and don't get a call.
Yeah, I don't.
Or even get hammered, get a call, and then it gets overturned.
Oh yeah.
All right, so game 2 coming up Wednesday. That's an 8:00 tip. Apparently Reggie Miller is going to be on the call.
Okay.
We learned a great story from Stan Van Gundy, who said that Spike Lee came up to him and said, "Oh, I guess Reggie's on Wednesday," and Stan Van Gundy said, "Yep." That was a story that was relayed to us on the broadcast.
Yes.
Great insight, Stan.
Fantastic. So,
so what you got?
Wednesday.
You gonna sweep it?
I think that we're gonna make the adjustment and we'll sweep that game.
Okay.
I think we're gonna. And Carlisle's gonna. We'll have some different looks, and I'm really hoping that we see. I have seen from Halliburton good responses. He's had. I don't know. He may not have 30 points, but if he gets, if he can get 20 points, 10, 12, 10, 12 assists and really facilitate offense and he just wasn't excited today. He wasn't like, bouncing around. There was no Halliburton hop.
Yeah. I mean, true. Yeah, he didn't find joy offensively. I thought he was pretty active defensively. He got a key steal down the stretch.
Yeah, that's true.
He was engaged in the game. And like I said, I think that, his intentionality in running after makes or misses and getting the ball up the court really sets the tone, and everybody else kind of follows that lead. And so, even when he's having a bad game, he's a really important player for us.
Oh, yeah.
I guess is the point I want to make. But yes, this is, and this is part of the growing process, which we talked about yesterday, is you got to learn that in the last 5 minutes of playoff games, like, I need my best guy to be doing things to help us win.
Yep.
And didn't quite feel that was the way tonight. So
what about you? What do you got?
I fear Jalen Brunson, and I fear this Knicks crowd. That Knicks crowd is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, Pacers fans are amazing. Like, it's a really good environment, but I don't know. The way that the Mecca is going, and like the way that they respond to Brunson, and I don't know. It's going to be tough. I feel like it's going to be hard to pull that one out.
Yeah, DiVincenzo, when there was that one, he hit a late three, and I knew it's like if he goes in this, if he hits a shot, this place is going to go completely bonkers, and they did, and it's forced the timeout, and it rattles. I mean, I know it's going to rattle the players,
Yeah, but that being said, I was impressed with like I said, the way that the crowd was getting into it when they would cut it to 2 or 1 or tie it in the third and fourth quarter, and then Pacers would respond and get a bucket. It was really impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we get that W on Wednesday with Reggie Miller on the call. We found.
That's right.
Good to know. All right. Well, until we're back with you next time, you can find us on the social medias. We're on Twitter at Undebeatables, Facebook.com/TheUndebeatables. Our website is TheUndebeatables.com. There's a contact form you can use to send us a message. Email, shoutout@TheUndebeatables.com, and at the website /store for merch.
And for our once and always head coach, now in the Hall of Fame, Bobby Slick Leonard, and the architect, Donnie Walsh, and our Hall of Fame mascot, Boomer, turn out the lights. Party's over.
I felt like Coulson was getting like a little too serious with some of his recent singing.
Oh, you mean like he was trying to hit the actual notes, or like he just wasn't being silly with it? He lost his Halliburton hop.
I'm just saying he's not been like engaged as he, he was gonna be. I mean, they were talking about putting him in the, the all podcaster team, like third team.
Sure. Yep.
And of course, that for him, that had contract ramifications.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I feel like, for our podcast, we need him to step up in literally the last 5 minutes. Like, that's what we need him to do. And you're
preferably only then.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He just should get everybody else involved sort of the rest of the time. And then take over just before we stop recording. Yeah.
And preferably still do the, editing.
Yeah. And you mentioned it at the top. Sad fact of the night. Josh Hart from Silver Spring, Maryland. Went to Wheaton High School. And then transferred to Sidwell Friends.
Is that another nearby one?
No. Oh, okay. That one is over by, that's a hoity-toity school. That's like where the Obamas went to school.
Oh, but still like in the metro area?
Yeah, it's in D.C. Yeah, okay. It's like over by the National Cathedral.
Okay. Well, a sad fact. Well, apparently, folks from Silver Spring are well conditioned because they played 48 minutes.
No doubt.
Goodness. And did an interview at during the game too. So, and he called out his defense or his team's defense for being terrible, which it was.
Sure. Yeah, and then now he's gonna go back and drink the blood of a virgin and continue to have his superpowers.
Yeah. Sounds like a Silver Spring thing.
It's a magical place. It's a magical place. You've been here.
Yeah, I'm acting like I don't know what's going on.